Some 9mm have already made me more nervous than whatever I was looking at in front of the muzzle. Not at a clean lane. I mean, with wrong ammo, cold hands, sweat on the grip, bad lighting in a parking lot, and that little voice asking, "Is this thing about to screw me?" Those moments have stayed with me. I stopped caring about brochures and round counts and started asking one question. Did this gun ever make me think about it instead of the problem in front of me? Never worry has meant it didn't choke when I was sloppy, it didn't punish a bad draw, it didn't steal attention when things were already sideways. This list has come straight out of that. Every 9mm on this list has already killed one of those fears for me. And if the gun you trust every day doesn't show up here, then has already told you something you probably didn't want to hear. I didn't trust this big old USP the first time I set it on the bench. It felt like I was holding a cinder block with a badge. That long double action pull, the huge grip, all the levers hanging off the frame. None of it felt like something I wanted between me and a hallway problem. In my head, I kept seeing the worst version of myself. Cold hands. That heavy first shot yanking the sights off target. I almost wrote it off as a nostalgia gun for guys who missed the 90s, so I gave it a chance to embarrass itself. Cheap ammo. No fresh lube. Cold evening on a public bay. Draws over a jacket. DA start every time. Long strings until my arms burned. I waited for the gun to give me an excuse to stop trusting it. It never did. Round after round, the big slide just kept cycling. The sloppier my grip got, the less it seemed to care. Somewhere in that cold session, I realized I'd stopped checking the controls and started paying attention only to the target. I still don't love carrying a brick, but this was the first 9mm that made overbuilt and boring mean I didn't have to worry about it at all. The Taurus GX4 Carry annoyed me because I liked shooting it more than I trusted the name. In my head, it lived in the same pile as the old G3C. A sale gun you tossed in a glove box and forgot, so that's where it stayed. Truck seat, glove box, under paperwork, sweating through Texas heat while my real carry gun rode on my belt. One late drive home, I realized the gun closest to my hand was the X4, not the one I bragged about. That thought stayed with me the ride. Next range day, I decided to settle it. No fresh lube, mixed ammo, the same beat-up mags that had bounced around the truck. First magazine ran clean. Second magazine, one cheap round gave me a dead click, and my brain screamed, "There it is!" Tap rack. Bang. Same ammo later did it in another gun, and the pattern was clear. The problem wasn't the Taurus. The more I shot, the more the worry shifted. I quit scanning for the next hiccup and just ran drills. I still don't call every Taurus trustworthy, but this GX4 Carry climbed out of the G3C junk category and into the short list of 9mm I don't worry about anymore. Last year I pulled into a gas station I already didn't like. Late drive, half asleep, 2 cars parked nose to nose by the pumps. Nobody moving, just people staring at nothing. I stepped out anyway and my hand went straight to the grip of the 43X MOS without me thinking about it. Most guns, that touch has always started a second argument in my head. Is this enough gun? Did I load the right ammo? Do I really trust this one? With the 43X, none of that kicked in. I still watched the people, the mirrors, the doors, but for once I didn't waste a single thought on the pistol. That was the weird part. I had carried it all year, shot it enough to know it ran, practiced draws at home. Somewhere along the way, my body had already made up its mind, as that night just proved it. I topped off the tank, walked inside, eyes up the whole time, and the Glock stayed completely quiet in my head. Later on that drive, it hit me. I had finally put a 9mm on my belt that didn't ask for attention when the setting felt wrong. And once a skinny little carry gun earned that level of calm, the next pistol on this list had to prove itself in a much heavier, old-school way. Later, I walked onto a class line with the P226 Carry Legion on my hip and immediately felt out of place. Everybody else had polymer Wonder Guns and racy 2011s. My gun looked like a metal dinosaur with a hammer and a hangover. I remember thinking, if this thing coughs once, I'm never hearing the end of it. You know that feeling when you're sure you brought the wrong gun? That was the whole first drill for me. Then the day started to grind. Hot, dusty, lots of draws from concealment, movement, reloads on gravel, and slowly I watched the modern stuff hiccup. Optics came loose. One slide stopped going fully into battery. A couple of guys spent more time clearing malfunctions than shooting. Nobody died, but hands kept leaving guns to fix something. The Legion just sat there, heavy and smug. DA first shot, SA after that. Big slide going back and forth like it had seen this movie already. My only complaint stayed the weight on my belt and the fact that it made me look like the old guy on the line. By the end, I trusted it more than I wanted to admit. It was one of the few 9mm that never asked for my attention under pressure. And once the metal relic refused to give me anything to worry about, the plastic cop gun that came next had to earn that same quiet in a completely different way. My buddy in Arizona called last year and asked me to come shoot. I wasn't saying no. I packed the guns I liked showing off and tossed the M&P 9 2.0 compact in the case, out of habit. On the table, it looked like the plain cop gun parked next to the stuff I actually wanted to talk about. Next day, we hit an outdoor spot in the heat. Dust, bright sun, steel out in front of us. I ran the fun pistols first, and they did what fun pistols do. Loud, flashy, just finicky enough to keep me fiddling with them more than I liked. When I finally handed him the M&P, everything got quiet. Not just the gun, my head. It pointed, shot, reset, and gave me nothing interesting to say about it. And that annoyed me more than a malfunction would have. On the drive back, he asked why I didn't just carry that one every day. I didn't have a good answer. That stuck because the truth was simple and I hated admitting it. I trusted the boring M&P more than the guns I was proud of. I still rotate other pistols, but this is the one I don't second guess when it's actually on my belt. The shop guy in Waco, Texas almost talked me out of the Ruger RXM. I walked in asking about a 9mm, and he went straight to the safe brands, Glock and SIG in a neat row. When I pointed at the RXM in the corner of the case, his shoulders dropped. Those are fine, but most people go with these. He said, if you've ever had an expert brush off the one gun your hand likes, you know that itch. The more he steered me away from it, the more I wanted to feel it again. Grip felt right. Sights made sense. Balance didn't fight me. I bought it anyway with that shrug riding home. Since then, it has lived a normal life. Range trips, errands, quick carry, when I just needed something on my belt. Nobody at the range asks to see it first. When I'm heading out and my hand grabs the RXM without thinking, I'm not worrying about it failing. I'm half waiting for the day it proves that salesman right and embarrasses me. It hasn't yet. Every time it doesn't, it digs a little deeper into the list of 9mm I'm willing to bet my pride on. My father never treated the Beretta 92 FS like a collectible. The gun lived on him, in the truck, on the nightstand. I watched it smack door frames, ride in a dusty console, get dropped on gravel, then get shoved back in a cheap holster like nothing happened. He cleaned it just enough to keep it honest and went back to work. When it ended up in my hands, part of me wanted to baby it. Big metal 9mm. Family gun, long history. But habits win. It started riding in my truck, getting stuffed into bags, loaned to friends who just wanted to try a Beretta. The finish picked up scars that weren't mine, and I added a few more. If you've ever inherited a gun that already looked tired, you know that mix of respect and disrespect. The more rough years it has taken, the harder it is to pretend it's fragile. The 92 FS is not light. The grip is thick. It is not the easiest thing to hide under a t-shirt. But every time I have left it by the bed or in the truck, when weather and life both looked ugly, I have felt less nervous than when I picked newer, prettier options. And after a full size like that soaked up all the hard days, the smaller plastic pistol that came next had to earn trust without history, weight, or excuses. The CZP-10C has been the first 9mm that ever made me feel like I was cheating on my Glock 19. For years, the answer stayed the same. Get a 19 and stop overthinking it. I carried it, trained with it, defended it in arguments. The P10C started as a side project, something I picked up just to see what CZ was doing with a striker gun. Quiet stuff started bothering me. On tired days, my groups with the P10C stayed a little tighter. Fast strings felt calmer. The grip locked in without me fighting it. Nothing huge, just enough that I kept telling myself it was a fluke, and going back to the Glock out of habit and pride. One range day, I took both, loaded them, and paid attention to what my hands did when my brain wasn't voting. I kept reaching for the CZ. Even packing up, I caught myself holstering the P10C for the drive home, then stopping, swapping to the Glock, like I owed it one more chance. I still don't pretend the P10C is perfect. The ecosystem isn't as easy, and it doesn't carry the same simple answer as, just buy a 19! But when I'm honest about which 9mm, I truly haven't been able to stay nervous about, this CZ sits uncomfortably close to the top of that list. If your mouth keeps saying one gun's name, and your hands keep loading another, which one do you really trust? Be honest, when a Turkish Canik TP9 SFX Rival and a CZ Shadow 2 sat on the same bench, my ego had already picked a winner. The Shadow 2 wore the serious gun badge. The Rival was the loud, cheap thing I threw into the pile when I didn't care what got scratched. Then the hard days stacked up. Long drills, transitions, ugly reloads onto gravel, sweat in my eyes. The Shadow 2 still shot like a dream, but it kept reminding me it wanted respect. Screws to check, rhythm that changed when things got dirty, that feeling of treat me right or I'll let you know. The Rival never asked. Same filthy mags, same rushed draws, same bad grip and footwork, and it just kept punching. At some point, I realized I wasn't checking it before each run anymore. I just loaded it and stepped to the line. I still hate that truth, because if the pistol you joke about has already outlasted the one you show off, that joke has been on you. And the last gun on this list has embarrassed my favorites even worse than this one. Years back, I thought this question was stupid. If I had to sell every 9mm I own and keep just one, which gun would let me sleep that night? The answer has been sitting on a table in front of me, and I have hated admitting it. I laid them out. Glock 19, CZ P10C, Rival, Shadow 2, Beretta, all the names I usually throw out first. My ego went straight to the classics. But when I pictured waking up with only one left, there was always a small itch in the back of my head with every single one of them. Then my eyes stayed on the Springfield Echelon. Not the oldest, not the most expensive, not the prettiest. Just the pistol that has handled truck duty, bedside, long days in a holster, and ugly sessions on the range without drama. It has run clean often enough that my worry has shifted off the gun and onto myself. I kept trying to talk myself into choosing something else. That was the first time I said it out loud. The Echelon is the one 9mm I don't worry about. I still don't like how much power that gives it in my lineup. But if you put every 9mm on a table and had to keep one, are you really picking the gun you brag about or the one you actually don't worry about? So, never worry has never meant soft recoil or clean machining. It has meant the gun went quiet in my head when everything else didn't. Some of you already carry one like that. Some of you have been trusting something that only ever impressed you under good lighting. If your carry gun has ever made you hesitate, even for half a second, that wasn't paranoia. That was information. And hesitation under pressure has already cost people more than pride. These 9mm earn their place because I stopped thinking about them. I focused on the problem, not the tool. That has been the difference. Tell me the one 9mm that never made you doubt it, and the one that did. I'm Steve. You've already known which one it is.